Last month we traveled through Europe by train with our 10-month-old Tibetan Terrier, Sonny. In this video I'll share some information, tips and tricks in regards to traveling by train through Europe with a dog. So if this is something you want to do with your best friend, keep on watching! In total, we spent 3 weeks traveling through Europe. During this time, we visited Berlin, Prague, Vienna, Ljubljana in Slovenia, Trieste, Venice, Dolomites and Innsbruck. But let's start at the beginning. How did we get to Berlin? We did so by taking SJ Eurail train 345. On SJ trains, dogs are welcome for free in certain cabins. When booking tickets with SJ, you have to specify that you're traveling with a dog. This is easily done, both on their website and in their app. You just look for this dog icon when you're booking a ticket and you should be good to go. When taking night trains in Europe, dogs are in general welcome, but there are different rules depending on which company you travel with. We've already covered the Swedish SJ. Another common one to travel with is the ÖBB Night Jet. To bring your dog on night jet trains, you need to book an entire compartment, which can be a bit expensive, so if you will travel with the night jet, book the tickets well in advance. That way it should be at least a little bit less expensive. Read more on ÖBB's night jet website, nightjet.com. Anyways, let's head towards Berlin. Good morning, Sonny. Alright, well, just how dog-friendly is the German capital? Let's find out. We spent one full day in Berlin, and here's what we did. Sightseeing. Together we saw the Parliament building, Brandenburg Gate, and Checkpoint Charlie. 2 pieces of the Berlin Wall, and we chilled out in the park of Tiergarten. Later on we had some food as well. Varsågod, Sonny. Good morning from a train platform in Berlin. The next morning we traveled to Prague. We did so on Eurocity train 173. Your dog needs a ticket to go on this train. Buy the ticket when you buy your ticket, or when you buy your seat reservation, or at the station before you travel. Ideally though, buy it online and you won't need to stress about it. From Berlin to Prague, it takes about 4 hours. No problems for Sonny. He slept most of the way. Prague is very much a dog-friendly place. Dogs ride public transit for free, can join their people in most all restaurants and cafes. They can even go to the mall. So a quick recap of what we did together in Prague. Ate food, walked around a lot, rode on trams, crossed a bridge in the rain, and walked in the park. After 2 days in Prague, we continued towards Vienna. To travel with Czech railways, dogs need their own tickets. And here is me explaining how that works. Well, good morning. We're at the Prague Central Station here. We're gonna catch a train to Vienna quite soon. But for this guy to go with us, we need to buy him a dog ticket, which can only be bought at location at the station. And I'm gonna go buy it right now. The dog ticket is priced based on distance. So for Sonny to go from Prague to Vienna, it costs 15 euros. But he did get his own dog ticket. That's kind of cute. Here's something we learned during our travels. If you can, book direct trains, even if it costs a bit more. If there are no direct trains, make sure you have enough time to make your connection, and also enough time for your best friend to do his or her business before boarding the next train. We did not really book this very well. We only had a few minutes to make our connection. Very stressful, but luckily Sonny handled it really well. We're gonna change trains, Sonny. You have to do quick pee, leg up, okay, and pee, and then board next train, okay? So we rush off the train, and luckily Sonny is a fantastic travel partner who pees on not the first, but the second available pole. Good boy, yes, go on here. A great dog, isn't he? That was the most stressful dog pee ever.
Yeah, I know. I feel so stressed. But we made it.
Good boy, Sonny. Now let's talk about the dog friendliness in Vienna. In short, we didn't think of it as a very dog-friendly place, and there's a few reasons why. First of all, muscles are required on public transport, and so are tickets, which we found out after we were fined 150 euros. Here's the thing though, we asked for help at the station. A worker walked us through the process of buying family tickets for public transit. We asked this worker about our dog. He then proceeded to tell us that dogs ride for free on all public transit. In other words, he lied to us. Tickets were checked at the very next stop, and we were fined. So if if you're traveling to Vienna with your dog, make sure to buy a ticket for the dog. In the ticket machines you need to buy a half-price ticket. They are valid for dogs. Apart from this, there's also a lot of parks in Vienna, which is nice, but in a lot of these parks dogs are not allowed to be. One good thing though is that the dogs are welcome in almost every restaurant and cafe. But overall, Vienna was not a very dog-friendly place. That's how we experienced it anyways. Let's move on to Slovenia. We made our way to Slovenia by taking intercity train 533 to Villach. In Villach, we jumped on Railjet train 211. For this journey, Sonny once again needed his own tickets. Dog tickets can be bought at the station in Vienna, or you can buy them online. Anyways, as dog owners, what was our experience of Slovenia? Mostly positive. Muzzles are still required on public transport, but at least no parks are off limits. Looking at you, Vienna. What a dumb rule. Anyhow, we spent 3 days in Slovenia, 1 full day in Ljubljana and 1 full day at Lake Bled. Let's start with Ljubljana. Here we explored the old town, walked along the river and made our way up to the central castle overlooking Ljubljana. Dogs cannot go inside the museum or lookout tower, but they are allowed to be inside the castle courtyards. Every restaurant we visited also allowed dogs to join their humans by the table, and almost all public water fountains are complete with bowls for dogs to drink from. It's good water. We had a great time in Ljubljana, but what about Lake Bled? In the early morning hours we caught a train towards Lake Bled. Dogs rode for free on this train, so the Sonny total still remains at 198 euros. Lake Bled was great. We walked around the lake and in the forests. Us humans went for a swim. Sonny only dipped his feet. Great place all around. But there was one thing which was not that good. When we tried to catch a bus back to the train station, Sonny was denied entry. In other words, buses around Lake Bled do not accept dogs. We had to call for a cab, which ended up being a bit expensive. Seeing as we humans also rode in the cab, let's say we split the bill with Sonny. The next day, Sonny played in a nice dog park before we headed towards Italy. We entered Italy through the coastal town of Trieste. The train was run by ÖBB and it takes about 2 hours from the Slovenian capital. Dogs need their own ticket. We forgot to buy this in advance. Luckily, the train conductor was very nice and said Sonny could ride for free this time. But it should actually have costed him about 6 euros. In Trieste, we only spent 1 evening. It seemed really dog-friendly though. Italy as a whole was really dog-friendly in our opinion, as you will hear more about quite soon. Anyways, after food and rest, we continued the next day and headed towards Venice. We took an intercity train from Trieste at 10:47 in the morning. Dogs travel for free on intercity trains after 9 AM on weekdays. So once again, Sonny traveled for free, only this time legally so. Now, what about Venice? A romantic city and quite famous city, but how is it for dogs? Very, very nice. Sonny could join us on all the things we wanted to do. There was also a lot of dogs out and about. He met many friends. Maybe those tiny ones weren't actually friends though. Either way, Sonny could join us exploring the streets, bridges, plazas, and also the back streets of Venice, of course. He was also welcome on boat taxis, and he could even join us for a gondola ride. In restaurants, he was also more than welcome. You see what I mean now about Italy being exceptionally dog-friendly? Anyways, that's our time in Venice. Let's move on to the Dolomites. We entered the Dolomites through Bolzano. We took the Italian high-speed train there, the Frecciarossa. On high-speed trains, dogs need a ticket, which we had forgotten about. Sonny once again got a fine. This one we kind of deserved though. 55 euros, 5 of which was the actual ticket price, 50 of which was the fine. Alright, how did we get on in the Dolomites? We rented a car in Bolzano and then we drove for about 2 hours straight into the mountains. We made one stop along the way at this really beautiful turquoise lake. Sonny handled the twisting and turning mountain roads really well. He only puked once, and that was on the way back. But to be fair, maybe I drove a bit too fast for him that time, so it was actually my fault. Also, he had skipped breakfast that morning. Now I'm rambling again. What did we think of the Dolomites, and did Sonny enjoy his time there? He very much did. Together we went for an easier hike. Sonny found some really nice sticks and he played a lot with Hannah. Since no one else was around, we allowed him to hike off leash, which he very much enjoyed. He behaved really well and stayed at least kind of close to us. We also had a fantastic bath in a mountain lake. This time Sonny really did enjoy the waters as well, and he was brave enough to even head quite far out with us, but not too far. This was his limit, as you can see. The next day we drove to a place called Val Venetia. Beautiful valley, had a short hike out to a mountain hut, so did about 20 other dogs as well. Well, after enjoying the nice views, eating and drinking, Sonny got to run a lot in the big open fields. He had the best time probably. We drove back to Bolzano in the early morning hours. Sonny puked, as I said before, no footage of that. Anyways, we then caught Railjet train number 88 towards Innsbruck. The 2-hour train ride costed Sonny 12 euros. Innsbruck was much better than Vienna for dogs. Public transit, free for dogs. Muscle still required though. Parks, dogs can be there. Our first day here was spent exploring the city. It was quite windy though. I think Sonny actually enjoyed that, even though it made his fur blow around like crazy. During our second day we went for a hike up to a small mountain hut. We also found some very scenic views over Innsbruck. Sonny once again hiked off-leash for short periods of time, but his favorite time was probably at the previously mentioned mountain hut. Here he met a friend, which he could play a lot with. And this is where our journey home begins. In the evening we caught Nightjet 40420 bound for Hamburg. This one was pricey. Dogs are, as mentioned before, only allowed in certain private compartments. Seeing as we were 4 people and Sonny was the only dog, let's split the total cost in 5. 550 euros then becomes 110 euros per traveler. But we are, after all, from Sweden. So in Hamburg we caught another train which took us to Malmö. 26 euros Sonny had to give Deutsche Bahn for that ticket. Once we reached Sweden though, he once again rode for free. In total we spent 411 euros on railway tickets and other types of transport for Sonny. As for other costs, hotels and apartments were all quite welcoming towards him, but some did require additional fees, which means that the total cost of travel all in all for Sonny was about 512 euros or 5,756 Swedish crowns, or whatever your local currency may be. We did really have a great time, and we can highly recommend to travel Europe by train with your best friend. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Sonny and I will of course try to answer them. But was this useful or maybe even fun to watch? Then Sonny would appreciate a like, and maybe you'd even want to subscribe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.